MissChance496 here with another video review. This time I am just talking about the new Hot Toys figure that was shown. Of course, it is Hulkbuster. So yeah, so I do this most of the time whenever a figure that is shown that I actually am really looking forward to. So whenever they show the pictures, I do make a video just expressing my thoughts on it. For the most part, I do that on most figures from Hot Toys. So yeah, of course, Hulkbuster has got to be the most anticipated figure of 2015 or 16, however you want to look at it, just because he is such a huge character. Obviously, everybody knows the Hulkbuster from the comics, and everybody knows him from the movie now, of course, because he is definitely the one that everybody's most looking forward to seeing for the most part. And you know, that's obviously because he is so unique. Overall, the figure looks really great. Of course, this isn't like our first time seeing it. We did see it at Toy Soul Fair a few months ago, I think in December. And it looked great there, obviously very big, had lights on, and looked quite imposing. These pictures really do look really nice. Obviously gives us some more information about the figure. One thing about these poses, you can definitely tell that his articulation isn't going to be great. He might have all the perfect joints, but just his bulk is going to hinder his articulation quite a lot, because if you look at these pictures, nothing too extravagant is happening in any of these poses. At the most, his shoulders are swiveled up like they are there, and that's basically all you're going to get. You might be able to have the legs so that he's in a slightly walking position. His head seems to tilt, but it tilts just on a swivel, it looks like. It doesn't look like it goes up or down at all, which is definitely disappointing, because I'd love to, you know, point his head down to look at like the Hulk or characters that are smaller, and I like to have his head up if you have him in a pose where he's like, you know, I'll show you when it comes back around, but there's a pose here where his head looking up would have looked really nice, and he can't do that. You know, I wasn't expecting any amazing head articulation because of the odd shape of the head, but it looks like it's even worse than I thought. I thought that the swivel would be quite nice, but like I'll show you later, the swivel is very kind of tilted, so I will show you that though in a later picture. Overall, though, the figure does look very nice, very bulky. I like that the red is kind of scratched up a bit in places. Like here, this is where his head looking up would be really nice. But I like the way that it's weathered. Looks very good, and definitely quite bulky. I did notice that from Toy Sale Fair that the legs are incredibly bulky, which is really cool. I do like how massive the legs are, and his arms are quite bulky too, but his legs are definitely like massive. He does look very cool. He will have like 16 lights just in the Hulkbuster, and then in the Mark 43 bust inside will also have a light up chest and eyes. Obviously he has lights on his knees, the side of his legs, the back of his legs. He's got 4 arc reactors in the back, plus 2 other sections that light up in the back. He's got an arc reactor in the chest, hands, and eyes, of course, and then you have the Mark 43's chest and eyes. So a bunch of lights, which is really cool. Lights never really excite me that much, because I'm realistic here. I know that my figure isn't going to be always lit up, so I really don't care too much about the lights, because I really care about how it's going to look in my collection, and it's not going to have these amazing lights on all the time, or most of the time it won't, so that is why I'm not super excited for the lights. But I do think it's really cool that he has so many arc reactors. Just based on the character-wise, I think it's cool that he has a bunch of arc reactors to power him. As far as functions or accessories, I didn't really expect him to come with any accessories. I hope that he had some interesting functions, of course. I was very interested to see what they do with the Mark 43 and how they play that out into this figure. And, you know, they didn't do anything spectacular. You know, it would have been really cool if more of the figure could fit inside him, or if there was like an exclusive set that came with the Mark 43, or just something fun like that. They really didn't do anything like that, and for some reason they do not have any of the Mark 43 pictures in the official images, which is very odd. I really don't understand why, but before the official images were released, they did show pictures that were, you know, that had confidential written on them, and they just had like a couple shots of the Hulkbuster, Hulkbuster, including shots with the Mark 43 sculpt inside. And here it is, as you can see to the right there. So overall, it looks kind of neat. Obviously, you can see just a slight amount of his chest, and then you can see his head. Obviously, he looks a little strange, kind of like Ironmonger. But of course, I don't think this looks as good. You know, it just looks a little weird. I don't think anybody's really gonna want to display him like this. It just doesn't look that interesting. With the Ironmonger, you could see more of the figure in there, and he looked better than this. Now, I'm not saying that Hot Toys did a bad job. I'm just saying, as far as like the movie, he's obviously not gonna be talking, you know, like he's not gonna be moving around and fighting like this at all. This is obviously just when he's being assembled that he's gonna look like this. So that's the difference between Ironmonger and this guy. Ironmonger actually did things when the cockpit was open, while this one is just gonna be in a quick scene when the cockpit is all sealing up right before he fights him. I feel like when it is open like this, the chest looks flat. You know, he doesn't have that bulk, that rounded bulk. He has the side bulk, but not the front and back bulk. So I think that doesn't look great. It might just be these images, or it just might be an in-person thing. Maybe in person it will look wonderful, and it's just the photos that make it look eh. So, you know, that's something to say too. As you can see with size, we've got the Hulkbuster here, and then there's the new Hulk underneath. As you can see, he is quite big compared to that Hulk, and Hulk is, of course, massive, so that is very cool to see. Now, this is what I said with the tilted head. They don't have any pictures with him with a tilted head, but at Secret Base, they do have him with his head tilted, and he's got that weird kind of like sideways head tilt. You know, just there's a lot of 3 3/4-inch figures that have odd neck designs that, like, so that when you move their head, I mean, the head kind of tilts up like that. Same thing on this one, so I am disappointed in that. I feel like this guy is going to be incredibly lacking on articulation. People are going to get it, they're going to throw it in their collection, that's going to be the end of it. I don't need anything extravagant, but I would hope to pose mine in a slightly walking forward pose. Maybe he's got like one arm out, like he's about to either punch the Hulk or just like, you know, put his hand on the Hulk's chest to hold him back or something like that. And then, of course, I am buying this Hulk, so I'd have this Hulk, the posed upper body one, you know, about to hit him. That's what I would like to do. Here's a little closer image of the Mark 43. Very odd that they do not have any images of the Mark 43 inside the Hulkbuster for the official images, so not quite sure why that was the case. But who knows? Maybe we'll get some updated ones soon. It has gone on pre-order, of course, and it is quite a whopping amount, $825. Now, this guy, I found it hard to price him just because, like, before he came out, I was thinking that he was going to be a crazy amount of money. I thought he was going to be $800 to, you know, $1,000. I thought that was the range. And then after so long of seeing people thinking that he's about $600 to $800, $600 to $700, and seeing all of that, I thought, well, maybe my estimates are really high. So I started to get in the mind frame of seeing him for around $700. So the $825, it was more than I was expecting, and originally it's far less than I was expecting, but once I got my mindset on, I'm expecting it to be around $700. The $825 was more than I was expecting in the end there, so that is a little disappointing to see such a high price range. It's not like insanely high when you think about what you're gonna get, because he is massive. My favorite photo is this one here, and this one really shows his mass, I think. As you can see, you get the Hulk right here, looking puny compared to this guy. And maybe it's just the angle, but man, it really looks like a big difference. So that, you know, just based on this picture, it is certainly a good deal. Obviously, you know, this is going to be a lot that people would definitely love to have, but are going to have to skip because of this high price range. And I've considered it. I considered skipping, because this has always been a character that's been on my list of must-haves. And obviously, I don't want to chip out this amount of money for him. And I'm not as excited for him as I should be for, you know, $825. I mean, for a figure that costs that much, I should be incredibly excited about. And I feel like I'm just not very excited for him. And for that money, I really don't want to spend that much on a figure that I'm not super excited for. That being said, I will be picking him up. I mean, it is the Hulkbuster, and I feel like once I see the movie, that feeling is definitely going to change. I am going to get very excited for him. And I was having a conversation about the fact that I'm not too excited for him with somebody else, and we kind of determined that it's because of Iron Man 3 that this isn't super exciting, because when you actually look at the figure, it's not, like, the character-wise, the actual design, it's not super different. I mean, obviously it's crazy big, but it's really just a regular Iron Man suit on steroids. It's just a big, regular Iron Man. So to come off of Iron Man 3, where we have weird hunched-over blue robots with, long necks and ones that are white and gold and have jetpacks and just crazy designed ones, and a construction one that has big yellow, like, pounding arms, crazy stuff like that. So to see this armor, it doesn't look too different, and because it doesn't look too different, it doesn't look that exciting. So I think that that's the main problem as to why I'm not as excited for this guy as I should be for an $825 figure. Like I said, though, once I see the movie, I think that that's going to change, and this is going to be an iconic suit from an iconic scene in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think everybody's gonna remember the Hulkbuster versus Hulk fight, and hopefully that it will be just as grand as we're all expecting. So overall, I do plan to get him. I might order him soon, or I might just wait just a little bit after I see the movie so that I'm, like, excited to order him, basically. But I do think I'm going to order him. I think that I probably will not buy it from Sideshow, though. When it comes to, like, these massive figures, and figures that I'm, like, the price is really, like, wigging me out, I always like to try to get a slight discount. So I think that I'll purchase it from Toy Anxiety and get a slight discount so that I don't have to spend this amount of money towards them, to just get it a little bit cheaper. So I think that I'll be buying it from Toy Anxiety. Overall, very exciting, and it does come out April to June of 2016, a very far away release date. Obviously, the release date is more than a year away, which I expected. With these big figures, that seems to happen just because it takes them a lot longer to make them, I guess. I don't know. And, it's not a big problem for me. I feel like I'm happy with that because it just gives me a long time to pay for him, And I think a lot of people are going to be in the same boat, just liking that he doesn't come out for so long. But overall, I think that once I get him and once I see the movie, my mind frame will completely change, because once I see the movie, I'll be very excited to own the character, and once I get the figure in my possession and I pose up the way that I'm imagining it in my mind with the Hulk, I think that it's going to just be the crown jewel of my collection. I'm going to just absolutely love it. So hopefully that's the case, but I definitely want to hear your guys' opinions and what you guys think about the actual product and the price tag, because that is very interesting. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching.